Welcome back to the Wise Senior, your trusted place for guidance, wellness, and inner peace after 60. Today's video is about something both natural and important. Your sex life. Aging doesn't mean giving up intimacy. In fact, many seniors find this stage of life is the perfect time to rediscover pleasure, connection, and joy. Here are 8 expert-backed tips to help you enjoy a more fulfilling sex life, no matter your age. Desire doesn't disappear with age. It simply evolves. For many of us, especially after 60 or 70, intimacy begins to shift from something spontaneous to something more gradual. This is known as responsive desire, a type of desire that arises not out of sudden longing, but through gentle touch, emotional closeness, and shared connection. Unlike the spontaneous, almost impulsive arousal you may have experienced in your younger years, responsive desire takes its time. It's not about heat at first sight, it's about warmth that builds. And the good news, that kind of slow-burning intimacy often leads to deeper connection and more fulfilling experiences. Take Marianne, 73, and her partner Paul, 75, who live in a quiet coastal town in Maine. For decades, their intimacy was spontaneous and passionate, but over time, things changed. Marianne began to worry something was wrong. She wasn't feeling in the mood like she used to. But after attending a senior wellness seminar at their local community center, she learned about responsive desire. That understanding was a turning point. They started setting aside quiet time, not for performance, but for presence. Paul would massage her shoulders while soft music played. They'd sit close, share stories from the past, or simply enjoy a warm bath together, with no pressure, no rush, and no expectations. Desire started to awaken, not from the outside, but from within. It became clear, intimacy was still alive. It just needed space to breathe. This shift is perfectly natural, and if you or your partner find that desire doesn't show up as quickly as it once did, know that nothing is broken. In fact, this is a stage where emotional connection becomes the heart of intimacy. So what can you do? Start by slowing down. Let foreplay become an act of care, not a means to an end. Light candles, hold hands, laugh together. Give your partner a gentle kiss and see where the moment leads, not with a plan, but with curiosity. Most importantly, talk to each other. Responsive desire thrives in a space where both partners feel safe, seen, and valued. And often, what rekindles that flame isn't a grand gesture. It's the quiet consistency of being present with someone you trust. Remember, pleasure doesn't come from pressure. It comes from attention. From warmth, from time. So take your time. You're not running late. You're right on time. Here's a little secret most people don't talk about. Your body might be most ready for intimacy, not at night, but first thing in the morning. That's right. As we get older, fatigue sets in earlier, and by bedtime, many of us are just too tired. But there's a biological reason mornings might work better, and it's all about hormones. Testosterone, the hormone often associated with sex drive, follows a natural rhythm. It peaks in the early morning hours and gradually declines throughout the day. And while testosterone is often thought of as a male hormone, women have it too, and it plays a vital role in libido for all of us. So when you wake up, your body is actually at its most hormonally primed for desire. That's a beautiful window of opportunity. You're rested, your mind isn't weighed down with the events of the day, and your partner is right there beside you. That soft light, that sense of stillness, it can create the perfect setting for connection. Let me introduce you to Jack and Marlene, a couple in their late 60s from Oregon. Jack used to feel frustrated that their intimacy had become less frequent, especially since he always felt more alert and interested in the mornings. Marlene, on the other hand, had grown used to the idea that intimacy should happen at night, after dinner, after the dishes, after a long day. But by then she was too exhausted to even consider it. After seeing a short segment on hormone rhythms, they decided to try something new, shifting their mindset and their timing. They started with simple gestures in the morning, holding hands before getting out of bed, sharing coffee without rushing, cuddling while listening to music. No pressure, just connection. Within a few weeks, something shifted. Their mornings became a time of intimacy, both emotional and physical, and without even realizing it, they rekindled a sense of closeness that had started to fade. Jack later said, "I used to dread going to bed hoping something would happen. Now I wake up and just look forward to being with her. It feels natural again. If nighttime doesn't feel right for you anymore, let that go. There's no rule book that says intimacy must wait until after dark. In fact, for many older adults, mornings can feel more spontaneous and joyful. It's not about strict schedules, it's about honoring your body's rhythm and choosing the moments that make you feel most alive. You don't have to leap straight into anything either. Even a quiet morning cuddle, a shared laugh over breakfast, or a slow moment in the kitchen can lay the foundation for deeper connection later on. It's the small gestures that open the door to bigger ones. So here's your gentle reminder. If you've been waiting for the right time to reconnect, maybe that time is when the sun rises, not when it sets. As we age, our bodies change in subtle, sometimes surprising ways. One of the lesser talked about changes, the way we feel, literally. Our skin becomes thinner, our nerve endings less sensitive, and our response to touch can begin to fade, especially in more intimate areas. This can make it harder to reach arousal or experience the kind of pleasure you once did. But this doesn't mean the joy of physical closeness is gone. In fact, it opens the door to something just as exciting, the chance to rediscover pleasure through new sensations. Let's take Elaine, for example. She's 73, lives in Ontario, and has been married to her husband Marcus for nearly 5 decades. For years, their intimacy was built around the familiar, gentle kisses, warm embraces, and the rhythm they had always known. But over time, Elaine noticed she needed more to feel fully connected. What used to work didn't quite light the spark the way it once had. At first, she thought something was wrong. She even felt guilty for not responding as easily. But after speaking with her doctor, Elaine learned that what she was experiencing was completely normal. As we age, nerve endings, especially around the genitals, can become less sensitive. That's a natural part of aging. It's not about failure. It's about adjusting and exploring. With a little encouragement, Elaine and Marcus decided to try something new. They explored textures, temperatures, and tools. From silky scarves to soft brushes. From warming lubricants to gentle vibrators. They started approaching intimacy with curiosity rather than expectation. They laughed, they experimented, and to their surprise, they connected more deeply than they had in years. That's the secret many older couples discover. Reigniting passion isn't always about doing more. It's about doing things differently. Let's talk about the science for a moment. Your spinal cord has receptors that respond to pressure, vibration, temperature, and light touch. When sexual arousal feels dull, it's often because these sensory pathways need a little wake-up call. By trying different types of stimulation, like vibration, warming, or cooling gels, or playful tickling tools, you're engaging different parts of the nervous system. This not only enhances physical sensation, but also builds anticipation and playfulness into your intimacy. And no, it doesn't have to be complicated. Many couples find that simply introducing a soft feather, experimenting with a warm compress, or using a textured glove can spark fresh excitement. These tools don't replace connection, they deepen it. One important tip, always test new products, especially warming or cooling lubricants, on a non-sensitive part of your body first, like your forearm. Everyone's skin reacts differently, and what feels exhilarating for one person may feel irritating to another. Start slow and talk with your partner along the way. Communication is part of the intimacy. Another example is Julien, 76, from Marseille. After a stroke, he struggled with reduced sensitivity in his lower body. But instead of giving up on pleasure, Julien and his partner turned to sensory aids. A massage glove helped reawaken his sense of touch. Soft textures and vibration helped him reconnect with his body. He described the experience as learning a new language, one made of touch, patience, and love. You don't need fancy gadgets or expensive tools. Sometimes just changing the lighting, the music, or even the fabric of your sheets can create a new atmosphere. Intimacy doesn't have to be goal-driven. It can be exploratory, relaxing, and joyful. What matters most is this: don't be afraid to try. Aging changes the landscape, but pleasure is still there, waiting to be discovered in new forms. Keep an open heart, a curious mind, and remember, intimacy is not just about the destination. It's about enjoying every moment along the way. Here's something not often talked about, yet it affects more people than you'd think: The medications you take and the health conditions you manage may be quietly impacting your desire and your ability to enjoy intimacy. Let's talk about Helen, a 71-year-old retired teacher from Vancouver. For months, she couldn't figure out why her libido had all but disappeared. She felt generally well, no pain, no relationship issues, but she noticed a growing disinterest in intimacy with her husband, Simon. Initially, she chalked it up to aging. Maybe this is just how it is now, she thought. But deep down, it didn't feel right. One day during her annual checkup, she brought it up to her doctor. They went through her medications, and there it was. Helen had recently started a new antihypertensive drug to manage her blood pressure. While it was doing its job, one of its lesser-known side effects was reduced sexual desire. Helen's story isn't unusual. Many common medications, antidepressants, blood pressure pills, antihistamines, even some cholesterol-lowering drugs, can interfere with sexual function. They might dampen libido, cause vaginal dryness, or reduce blood flow, all of which can make intimacy less comfortable or desirable. And these effects often creep in slowly, which is why so many people don't immediately connect the dots. But here's the good news: you have options. When Helen's doctor realized what was happening, they worked together to adjust her medication. It wasn't a drastic change, just a different formulation with fewer side effects. Within a few weeks, Helen noticed a shift. Her energy returned, her mood lifted, and so did her interest in physical closeness. Beyond medications, it's also worth taking a closer look at your overall health. Chronic conditions like diabetes, arthritis, or cardiovascular issues can all affect intimacy, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally. Fatigue, joint pain, hormonal shifts, they all play a role. Even undiagnosed sleep disorders can contribute more than you realize. This is why open communication with your healthcare provider is so essential. You're not just a list of prescriptions or numbers on a chart. You're a whole person with needs that deserve attention, including your desire for intimacy. And let's not forget mental health. Anxiety, depression, or even mild mood changes can dramatically alter the way you experience touch, connection, and desire. In fact, Helen later realized that some of her withdrawal wasn't just physical. She had been feeling more isolated since retiring, and it took a toll on her confidence. With some gentle encouragement, she began attending a local art group and reconnecting with friends. That emotional warmth created space for intimacy to flourish again. So here's the takeaway: if something feels off, it's worth asking why. Don't assume a dip in desire is simply inevitable with age. Sometimes the answer is as simple as tweaking a prescription. Other times it's about getting support for deeper physical or emotional health. You deserve to enjoy connection, fully, comfortably, and with confidence. And it starts with knowing that your well-being includes your sexual well-being. Let's talk about something that many women experience after menopause, but rarely speak about openly: vaginal dryness. It's more common than you think, and thankfully, it's also highly treatable. Take Elaine, for example. She's 71, vibrant, healthy, and full of life. But over the past few years, she started noticing that intimacy with her partner, Paul, wasn't as comfortable as it used to be. At first, she thought it was just part of aging, something to silently endure, but the discomfort grew. And eventually, she began to avoid intimacy altogether. It affected not just her body, but her confidence and her connection with Paul. It wasn't until a gentle nudge from her gynecologist that Elaine discovered something simple could change everything: lubrication and vaginal estrogen. Let's break it down. When estrogen levels naturally drop during and after menopause, the tissues of the vagina become thinner, drier, and less elastic. This can lead to discomfort or even pain during sex, a condition known as vaginal atrophy. It's not just about dryness, it's about the health of the tissue itself. Now, here's the good news: you don't have to live with it. The first line of defense is often a good lubricant. Water-based lubricants are widely available, non-irritating, and compatible with most condoms and toys. Silicone-based lubricants last longer and provide extra glide, especially useful during longer sessions. Oil-based lubricants may feel luxurious, but they're not compatible with latex and may increase the risk of infections, so they should be used with caution. Elaine tried several brands before finding one that felt just right, smooth, non-sticky, and fragrance-free. It changed her experience overnight. No more hesitation, no more flinching, just ease and comfort. But for some women, like Elaine, a lubricant isn't enough. That's where vaginal estrogen comes in. This is not the same as hormone replacement therapy taken by mouth. Vaginal estrogen is applied directly to the vaginal area as a cream, tablet, or flexible ring, and delivers a low localized dose that helps rejuvenate the tissue, improve moisture, restore pH balance, and reduce the risk of urinary tract infections. Contrary to outdated fears, studies have shown that vaginal estrogen is incredibly safe, with minimal absorption into the bloodstream and no increased risk of cancer or blood clots in most women. In fact, many medical societies now recommend it as the preferred treatment for genitourinary syndrome of menopause, GSM. Elaine opted for a low-dose cream used twice a week. After just a few weeks, she noticed a difference, not only physically, but emotionally. She felt like herself again. Her confidence returned, her intimacy deepened, and most importantly, her sense of agency was restored. Ladies, let's be clear, pain or discomfort during sex is not something you have to tolerate. If you're experiencing dryness, irritation, or changes in your intimate life after menopause, talk to your doctor. There's no shame, no embarrassment, only empowerment in choosing comfort and connection. Because pleasure isn't just for the young, it's for anyone who chooses it, and that includes you. As we age, intimacy can look a little different, but that doesn't mean it has to fade. For many older adults, physical changes such as joint pain, limited mobility, or fatigue can make sexual activity more challenging. But thankfully, there are thoughtful tools and aids available that can help make intimacy not only possible, but pleasurable and safe. Let's take the story of Eleanor, 77, and her partner James, 80. Eleanor had a mild stroke 2 years ago, which left her with lingering weakness on one side of her body. While her recovery has been steady, she and James found that their usual sexual positions simply weren't comfortable anymore. Instead of giving up, they got creative and open to solutions. With the help of their occupational therapist, they discovered a range of sex aids and positioning tools designed specifically for people facing similar challenges. Supportive foam wedges, firmer than regular pillows, gave Eleanor better back and hip support. Adjustable cushions helped James stabilize his knees, which had been aching from arthritis. They also tried a positioning belt, a strap that gently helps guide the hips or legs into a more comfortable position without strain. These tools aren't about being flashy, they're about freedom. The freedom to enjoy intimacy without fear of injury, discomfort, or frustration. There are even simple swings that attach to door frames, offering gentle support for different positions. Some couples use what's called a G-spot link, a soft assistive strap that helps raise the legs or offers support during penetration for those who have weakness or balance concerns. Others invest in under-mattress supports or rocking wedges that assist in rhythm and comfort without requiring excessive movement. And if you think these tools are only for people with medical conditions, think again. Many couples in their 60s, 70s, and 80s use them to reduce strain, boost comfort, and feel more at ease during intimate moments. It's important to note that these aids are discreet, widely available online, and often designed to blend right into your bedroom. Some look like regular bed pillows. Others come with simple instruction guides and are even recommended by physical and occupational therapists. Eleanor and James say that these changes transformed their relationship. "We didn't just get our sex life back, we got our closeness back," Eleanor shared. "It gave us a way to feel connected again, without fear." If you or your partner experience physical discomfort, don't see it as the end of intimacy. See it as an opportunity to try something new, something that honors your body's current needs. There is no shame in adapting. In fact, there's pride in choosing to keep your love life alive, no matter your age. And remember, intimacy should never hurt. With the right support, both emotional and physical, you can continue to experience pleasure, connection, and joy in your relationship. Talk to a trusted doctor, therapist, or even explore products online together. You may be surprised by how much is out there to support you, and how quickly a small adjustment can bring big comfort. In later life, intimacy isn't about what you can't do. It's about discovering what's still possible and celebrating it. There's something quietly powerful about optimism, especially when it comes to intimacy in later life. It's not just wishful thinking. Science backs it up. In a 10-year study on midlife adults, researchers asked over 3,000 people aged 45 and older a very simple question: what do you expect your sex life to be like in 10 years? Their answers, whether they were hopeful or doubtful, turned out to be surprisingly accurate. Among the most striking findings, those who were the most optimistic about their future intimacy, who rated their outlook as a 9 or 10 on a 10-point scale, were significantly more likely to report satisfying, frequent sex a decade later, even if they had physical limitations or chronic conditions. In fact, optimism had a stronger effect on future satisfaction than some physical health factors. Take Alice and Raymond, for example. Alice, now 69, had battled knee pain and stiffness for years, while Raymond, 72, was managing mild diabetes. Neither had the same energy they did in their 50s. But what set them apart was their attitude. They talked about intimacy as something worth nurturing, something they looked forward to rather than something that belonged in the past. Each week they scheduled time just for themselves. No distractions, no chores, no TV. Some evenings they simply held each other and talked. Other times they explored new ways to connect physically. Alice even kept a journal where she wrote down memories of moments that brought her joy. "Writing it down helps me remember that I still can feel this way," she said. What this shows is that optimism doesn't mean ignoring limitations. It means working with them. It means believing there's still something beautiful ahead. And when you believe that, you naturally begin to take steps that reinforce it. You invest in your health, your mindset, and your relationship. Even small thoughts can create a big shift. Instead of saying those days are behind me, try saying there's still more for me to experience. Your brain responds differently. So does your body. And remember, optimism is contagious. When one partner remains hopeful and engaged, it often inspires the other to do the same. You build momentum together. You rediscover connection. So if you've ever doubted whether sex or closeness still belongs in your life, try flipping the script. Picture the kind of intimacy you want to enjoy. Warm, tender, playful, adventurous, whatever feels right to you. Then ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do this week to move toward that? You might be amazed at what shifts when you begin to expect joy, instead of questioning it. There comes a time in life when we begin to realize intimacy isn't measured by performance, but by presence. And yet so many older adults feel pressure to perform as they once did, especially when dealing with erectile issues, physical fatigue, or discomfort during penetrative sex. But here's a comforting truth. Pleasure doesn't disappear with age. It simply evolves. Meet Charles, 71, and his partner Elaine, 68. Charles had been quietly struggling with erectile dysfunction for over a year. It affected not just their intimacy, but also his self-esteem. "I felt like I wasn't enough," he admitted. Elaine, however, felt differently. "I didn't miss the act," she said. "I missed the connection." That's when everything changed. Instead of chasing performance, they began exploring touch. Not as a means to an end, but as a destination. They rediscovered each other's erogenous zones, the nape of the neck, the inner wrists, the gentle ticklish space behind the knees. They found that a slow, intentional massage could ignite more warmth than any hurried encounter. And laughter, they learned, was its own kind of foreplay. Sexual intimacy doesn't have to mean intercourse. It can mean sharing a warm bath, spooning under soft sheets, or gently holding each other while talking about dreams or memories. Sensuality, the experience of being present in your body and connected to another, is the key. Many people don't realize that climax is possible even without an erection. The human body has layers of sensory pleasure waiting to be discovered. For men like Charles, stimulation of the prostate, nipples, or even through fantasy and emotional closeness can trigger powerful sensations. For women, zones like the ears, back, inner thighs, and feet can open up new experiences when explored with care and intention. Using tools like soft feathers, massage oils, or vibrating devices can also expand the range of pleasure. These aren't novelties, they're gentle, respectful ways of deepening connection, especially when age or illness has shifted the body's responses. And most importantly, they offer a sense of play, which can so easily be forgotten in long-term relationships. What Charles and Elaine discovered, and what many couples eventually do, is that pleasure becomes even more meaningful when it's not rushed. When you're not trying to impress, but simply enjoy. When the goal isn't a finish line, but the journey itself. And for anyone watching who may be single, this message still holds true. You can explore sensuality on your own, through mindful self-touch, relaxing bath rituals, or connecting to your body through breath and meditation. Sexuality isn't limited to couples. It's a personal, powerful form of well-being that belongs to you. So if you've ever felt that intimacy is behind you because your body no longer responds the way it used to, know this. The most important organ for pleasure is not what's below the belt. It's the mind. And with curiosity, kindness, and a little creativity, your later years can be among the most satisfying, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. After all, pleasure was never about perfection. It's about feeling alive. Intimacy is a journey, not a performance. As we age, our bodies change, and so do the ways we experience intimacy. But growing older doesn't mean the end of desire or connection. One of the most powerful lessons we can carry into our later years is that intimacy is not about perfection or performance. It's about presence. Pleasure can come in quiet moments, a gentle touch, shared laughter, a lingering hug. Emotional closeness often becomes deeper and more fulfilling than the physical routines of our younger years. And when we let go of the pressure to be who we once were, we open the door to discovering who we are now, wise, compassionate, and more in tune with what really matters. Connection can take many forms. Whether through sensual touch, conversation, or shared vulnerability, it's the act of choosing closeness that keeps intimacy alive. And even if physical challenges arise, there are always ways to adapt, to explore, and to grow together. So the message is simple. Don't count yourself out. You still deserve joy, desire, and meaningful connection. Not in spite of your age, but because of the richness it brings. We'd love to hear from you. Which of these tips spoke to you the most? Leave us a comment below. Your story might inspire someone else. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Wise Senior newsletter for more honest, empowering conversations every single day. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.